So let's start out this video by clearing the air. I like Need for Speed Unbound. I am someone who thoroughly enjoys racing games, whether we're talking about realistic racing games or arcadey experiences. Growing up, some of my fondest memories are from playing racing games. Gran Turismo 2 on the PlayStation, or as I played it on the Bleemcast on my Dreamcast. Tokyo Extreme Racer, also on the Dreamcast. Games like Daytona USA. These are some of my fondest memories growing up of playing video games. And I've been someone who's been involved in car culture. I've been working on cars and modifying cars since I was 16 years old. I entered one car competition when I was in my mid-20s. I won 2 awards with my Nintendo themed Mercedes-Benz, which we called the Ninbenzo, even had the actual license plate to say that. I wish I had pictures of that car, but I don't. But here's a picture of me stunting on you hoes with my 2 awards. So suffice to say, I know car culture. You know, it's something that I've always been kind of in tune with, and I know that car culture constantly changes. What was hot 5 years ago isn't necessarily what's hot now. Need for Speed Unbound, though, was a game that a lot of people were very uncertain about it, pretty much because of the weird kind of anime aesthetic to some of the elements of the game. The game itself has a realistic visual style, but there's elements of it, such as your character and of course the effects that happen in the game, that are definitely more anime style. So how is this game gonna turn out? It honestly turned out pretty solid, I feel, but there's one problem with the game. Really, it's 2 problems, but I'm able to look past one of the problems. But the second problem in the game is just so atrocious and idiotic that it definitely sort of detracts from the experience for me a bit. So Need for Speed Unbound. It's a game that's kind of like Need for Speed Heat. You have this big ass city, you have a car, you're trying to win races to buy better cars, to buy equipment for your current car. All of this footage is pretty much going to be me driving a crappy Civic SI that I got in the game just because, I don't know, I didn't feel like recording a whole hell of a lot of footage for it, but I decided to make a video on it, so maybe in retrospect I should have recorded more. The game offers a day and night cycle, which I find very interesting. During the day, you can do different sorts of races and stuff, and there's something that's constantly happening called heat. The cops are essentially watching you and making sure you're not being a bad street racer and breaking the law and stuff like that. And the daytime events are basically, you know, lower paying events. They're more chill, they're more relaxed, and of course there is the cop presence, but it's more relaxed during the daytime. During the nighttime, things get a bit more spicy. The pots for these races are usually bigger, and you could win, you know, more money, which of course you could then put into your car or choose to purchase another car. But you have the heat meter that of course will raise higher because cops are more persistent during the nighttime because I guess there's nothing else going on. I like it because it adds a lot of risk and reward to the game. If you get busted by the cops, you lose all the money that you have on your person. So let's say you went out and won 9 or 10 grand during doing some races throughout the night, but if the cops bust you, you lose all that money. So you kind of got to balance when to call it a night, when you want to actually wrap things up and head to a safe house. I like the city that you race in itself. It's very interesting, kind of a bit cliche. You know, you have your big downtown area, you have your country roads that take you home, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, but it's fine. You know, I'm not expecting it to really reinvent the wheel or anything because this game didn't really have a whole lot of run up to it. Now, of course, a game based on cars is only as good as the cars that are in the game, and surprisingly, there's a really good variety of them. When you think about car culture itself, car culture is constantly shifting. What was hot 5 years ago isn't hot now. I remember things like Underglow were hot during the, you know, early 2000s. They went away, and now Underglow is back for some reason. So having a good variety of cars was going to be a very interesting thing to see how they did it in this game, but I think the variety is great. It even has arguably the most beautiful car of all time, the Mercedes 190e Cosworth. I love this car. I might be buying this car for Christmas for myself. Who knows? Not the 2.5 liter though, because those are way too expensive. Maybe just the 2.3. But I definitely enjoy the car variety in this game. And of course, the fact that the 190e Mercedes is the cover game, or the cover car for this game because of A$AP Rocky. A$AP Rocky has a highly customized 190e that is actually featured in this game, and A$AP Rocky actually plays a role. Now, since A$AP Rocky is a lead character in this game, you could kind of understand that it definitely has a bit of a hip hop flair flair to it, which, I mean, that's cool. You know, I like hip hop music. I like A$AP Rocky, all the A$AP boys, A$AP Ferg and all that stuff. So I definitely enjoyed it, but I do feel like the music variety could have been a bit better. It's mostly just more modern rap and a lot of house music. I would have liked some other stuff in there as well to sort of break up the monotony of the music, but you know, it's fine. It's a minor thing. As far as the racing itself is concerned, there's a bunch of different events that you end up doing. You do like drift events, takeovers, and then just standard races. I would say for the most part, the cars feel pretty good. Some of them feel a bit heavy, like heavier than they actually should feel, and it kind of does play into the gameplay as far as controlling your car, but you do get used to it. I have been playing a lot of Forza Horizon 5 lately, so that might have impacted, you know, sort of how I controlled the cars and whatnot. But one of the things that's a big emphasis no matter which event you're doing is drifting. Drifting is a main focus in this game, and every car can drift, even though in reality, that's not the case. That's fine. It's an arcadey style game. I get it. But drifting is important because it's constantly building up your NOS meter. And this is kind of one of the first problems I have with the game is the over-reliance of NOS, because that's just something very out of early 2000s where everyone wanted to have NOS because of a certain movie, The Fast and the Furious, which we will come back to in just a minute. But that was a huge thing for that movie, so everyone wanted NOS. Every car has NOS in this game. When you're drifting, when you're drafting behind a different car, you're trying to build up your NOS meter so that you can, you know, explode past people. The racing mechanics themselves are all over the place, really. You know, you're flying through the air at times. It's definitely a very arcadey game, so I can forgive some of the NOS stuff in the game. As far as the graphics and the presentation, we talked about the music, but I think the voice acting is very well done. I actually like the way the characters look too. Like my character, this is what I look like. If you ever wonder what I look like head to toe, this is how I dress. I dress very similar to this, so I thought it captured my essence, the essence of RGT, very well. The cars themselves all look great. The city itself looks great too. I think the graphics are very impressive, and the little effects that you get in them that everyone was so worried about, you can actually turn those off. I decided not to turn them off because I didn't find them all that intrusive. There's a bunch of different camera angles that you can do while you're racing. There is no cockpit, which I thought was kind of disappointing. I like looking at the interiors of different cars. They did not put that in this game, so you can't like look around at the interior, but you know, it's fine. It is what it is. It's not a make or break sort of thing. So obviously I like a lot of things about this game. So what's the problem with it? I called this video The Problem with Need for Speed Unbound. There is a story in this game, and I don't want to say it, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it, and if I get in trouble, so be it. This story was written by people who know nothing about cars, who know nothing about racing. They're probably in their, it's like they got a bunch of fat white people with multicolored hair, no disrespect, in their mid-40s together and said, write a game about racing. Because this story is just, it's so bad, it's funny. The dialogue in this game is so bad, it's funny. In the prologue, you're introduced to the character that you pick, and you have a sidekick. You quickly learn that you're both foster kids, and some guy like took you in, or you started working at his garage or something like that, and it's like, okay, you know, that's fine, you know, nothing wrong with being a foster child, but it's something that's constantly brought up through the story. This overarching story is that the town that you're in is like going through a gentrification process, and the cops are trying to shut down, you know, racers and stuff like that. And they're trying to, there's some mismanagement of funds in the political offices. And it's like, what the hell is this? You have the family aspect. Somebody betrays you early in the game. It's honestly like somebody watched The Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious, and then watch an hour of CNN and was like, got it, I could write a story about racing. It's just, it's ridiculous to me. I'm not a like someone who's gonna have like, you know, a cop tattoo on me or something like that. I have had so many negative interactions with police throughout my lifetime. You know, door kicked in at 6:30 in the morning, getting pulled over, getting accused of things that I had nothing to do with. I was a skateboarder as well, so you know how that works. But it's just like, it's so just cringe. That's what it is. It's cringe. The dialogue is cringe. Talking about like pimp my ride and stuff like that in a serious tone. You got to pimp your ride to have the style. And it's like, nobody talks like this. Nobody talks like this. And, you know, I understand they're trying to touch on realistic issues and issues that prevail in the real world, and I get that, but it's an arcade racing game. You're trying to buy cars and drive faster than somebody else. I don't need this story shoved down my throat constantly. It never ends. All the characters that you meet in the game too, they all have their own little quips, weird traits about them, and it's like, all right, I get that, you know, everyone is different, but what does this have to do with a racing game? Like, they tried to make this overly complicated, and the fact that it just never ends, and the characters never shut up, and the dialogue never ends, and it just feels like twists and turns for the sake of twists and turns. It honestly kind of hampers the experience quite a bit for me. I'm still able to enjoy this game. I still like this game. I still think the game is fun, but I think the game is actually held back by this overarching story that never shuts the hell up, that never shuts up. And you know, it works for certain games, but this is an arcade racing game. I don't think many people are playing an arcade racing game to get a deep narrative about social commentary issues that, you know, it's bizarre to me. But besides that, it's a pretty good game. You know, I've definitely been enjoying my time with it, and I probably will continue to enjoy my time with it. Let me know in the comments section down below if you have played this game. Every person that I watched Jimmy Broadbent play it yesterday, and he was in tears about the story just because it's so damn cringe. And I was just watching his reactions live, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm not the only person who feels this way, because it's very, very silly, and whoever wrote it, they should never write another story for a racing game again. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share, hit the bell notification as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.